So football was always my passion. The gladiator sport. I love the contact. Uh, for those of us that play the game, there's a certain feeling you get when you can look in a man's eyes and understand that you got the best of him, or he just don't want to do this no more. You ready to line up and just keep coming at him, keep coming at him, keep coming at him. And it's funny for us to get in between the lines and be that person. And then when we outside of the lines, to operate with a certain discipline and respect for others, and to care for your kids. It's pretty amazing how you could turn that switch on and off. And I'm speaking for all of us right now, man. You know, so athletics, man. I owe everything to it. You know?
We're back with one more down. Today we have legendary Chaney running back, Mack Gilchrist. Mack was the leader of the Chaney Cowboys from 1988 through the 1990 football season. I had the pleasure of being a teammate of his senior year in high school. I was a rising sophomore, finding my way in life, finding my way athletically. And this guy was the guy that showed us how to be Cowboys coming from the south side of Youngstown, making that transition to the West Side. And, he just led by example through his hard work, his tough play, and then his big brother attitude that made sure that all the young guys were good under his care. I'm appreciative to have you on and get a chance to, talk to you and get a little bit deeper into your backstory of who you are and how you came to be the tremendous player that you were as a young man. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Mack, it's great to finally sit down and be able to actually talk to you. Doing the podcast with Coach Berdis, have been able to hear so much about, you as a player, and not just on the field, but the ability to help build the program. And, hearing so much about how, when Ron took over, I think it was 1-9, 2-8, the struggles that you guys faced as a program. But the close games that you lost to Boardman and Steubenville's and leading up to what eventually the program turned into, even decades after you left. But in the short term, setting the table for guys like Ron and Sylvester Patton and, all those players to follow you to have the success. You may not have reaped the benefits, but you got to reap the benefits of, help to create the program. So just really excited to kind of flesh that out a little bit, hear some of your perspective and what you've done leading up to Chaney, during Chaney, and all the years after. So looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. I was part of some rough years, and actually, when you think back on things, it helped mold me into the person that I am. Just a blue collar, hard working guy. And Coach Berdis is my guy. We kind of came in together, and I think I had a small part to do in the transition that came after me as more talented guys like Ron and Sylvester and Mark Herring and others that came that paved the way, for a winning program. But it was definitely tough while I was there, and I wouldn't have it any other way, truthfully. I got to see a lot. I played with a lot of great guys, Chris Samarone, Dave Del Baccio, and others before me. So playing young as a freshman, coming in with those guys, watching them work hard, having Coach Berdis that was no nonsense, just a tough, hard-nosed guy. Truly, he's the reason I stayed. I had opportunities to go to Ursuline or Mooney, and they throwing different things at you. And I'm glad I stayed and watched these guys after me had the success that they had.
We'd like to kind of paint the picture of the man in those formative years before some of the notoriety and the success starts to take shape in your life. Can you give us a little bit of background and insight into your beginnings, your parents, and then, who are the pivotal people who helped shape and develop you as a young man?
Sure. Mack Gilchrist Sr., he was a star running back at Campbell Memorial. He went on to play at the University of UNLV. My mom, she lived in Las Vegas and attended the university as well. That's where they met. Ended up having me. Mack's family was from back here in the Youngstown area, Campbell area. So when I was a baby, they moved back here. And, it started out like a lot of stories in the projects in Campbell. And, we just built from there. The unfortunate thing is, when I was young, he ended up moving to Alabama. And, it was me and my mom for a lot of years. And I credit her with everything. She worked in the steel mills back then. I still see the scars on her legs from getting burnt. But she never let me go without. Wasn't raising no complainers, people that whine. She was tough. She was a tough woman, and she instilled that in me. But above all else, just to operate with good integrity and work hard. And one of the things over the years that kind of bothered me for a long time is, I would hear people would come up to me as I, in Little League, started to make a name for myself. And then junior high, and then on to high school. You would have people come up to me, you remind me of your dad. Your dad was a great player. You're a great player. Him being absent for whatever reason, you just always wonder. But again, I have no regrets. My mom did meet a gentleman later on, Clifford Williams, when I was 9 years old. He carried the mantle of being my father, and he did a great job helping with her. But most credit goes to my mom. She was an amazing woman. And 2 years ago, I live in Canton now. I moved her up here with me since I'm only child. So, yeah, all praise to her and God, of course.
When you talk about those early beginnings in Camel Project, Soup City as they call it, a lot of toughness, a lot of hard-nosed guys over there, as we found out in 90, and then transitioning through the city, your name rang bells early on. People knew of your prowess. You played alongside of and competed against some really talented guys, one being Diallo Anderson when you guys were in your junior high years. For you, what is that that cocktail in the city of Youngstown and the surrounding areas for your time growing up that kind of gives people that edge, in your opinion?
Ron, moving to Akron, living in Canton as well. After I graduated from YSU, I moved up here. You have conversations and you say you're from Youngstown, and you see people kind of sit back in their chair, or their demeanor changes some, but you have to live there like we do to understand the type of guys that we are. We ain't taking no shit, but we're gonna be respectful. But there's lines that you don't cross either, and we have pride coming from there. It's a lot of great athletes that come out of that area. It's been a recruiting hotbed for years. Diallo, we still talk to this day, talked 2 weeks ago. Having him as my best childhood friend coming up, and all the accolades that he received. He tried to get me to come to Ursuline with him so bad, but, sometimes things happen in life and you meet people that carry you in different paths. And what started for me was Coach Butch and Mike Butch Jr. When they came in my lives when I was at Volney, they had such an influence on me. And then meeting Coach Berdis, I chose the right path for going to Chaney. Win, lose, or draw, I couldn't be more happy than how things turned out.
And so, what was kind of your goal and path as you're coming up? Was athletics in general your passion? Was football a passion, or how did you kind of fall into being recognized as a football player?
Dallas started at an early age, brother, in Little League. I still can remember to this day. I couldn't make weight, so I always had to play with guys older than me. Sitting on the sideline, not paying attention. The coach called me in, put me at nose tackle. I ended up playing nose tackle and fullback. And then when those kids left, I'm still there. Now you start seeing people with signs, Mack attack, and you're scoring touchdowns and receiving accolades and start making a name for yourself. Uh, so from there, it just grew and it built. It's funny. It's funny, guys, because I didn't realize till I was 30 years old that there was a discrepancy against short people. I never realized I was short because, I always kind of excelled at sports and I played basketball. I couldn't really call myself a hooper. I thought I was back in the day, but the older you get, the more you start to realize your limitations in life. But yeah, so football was always my passion. The gladiator sport. I love the contact. For those of us that play the game, there's a certain feeling you get when you can look in a man's eyes and understand that you got the best of him, or he just don't want to do this no more. You ready to line up and just keep coming at him, keep coming at him, keep coming at him. And it's funny for us to get in between the lines and be that person. And then when we outside of the lines, to operate with a certain discipline and respect for others and to care for your kids. It's pretty amazing how you could turn that switch on and off. And I'm speaking for all of us right now, man. So athletics, man. I owe everything to it. To be in locker rooms with different young men and then men from all walks of life, rich, poor, white, black, Hispanic, Asian. You set all that to the side and then you just have a common goal with that blood, sweat, and tears, the respect of pushing the man next to you and trying to figure out how to become better. And, as a sales manager in a dealership, I like when I interview athletes. And I tell them that in the interview because a lot of times we have an on-off switch and a competitiveness that takes us to places that a lot of people don't know they can go. And I attribute a lot of that to athletics, my mom, Coach Berdis, Coach Tressel. I've been blessed to have some people come in my lives that help mold and shape me into what I believe is a pretty good person through athletics and mainly football.
As you're kind of growing up and just enjoying the process, what's it like when you start to realize maybe you have a little bit more talent than others or and not from a humble standpoint, like I already get that sense that you're a humble guy, but at some point I think we all recognize hey, I can pursue this and make something out of it. When did you start to realize that maybe you either had a different level of toughness, a different level of athleticism, or both? And that was something that you wanted to really go after?
When I was in junior high and you start competing with other kids in the city, whether it was in basketball and it was football, you start to separate yourself a little bit from most. And I think that's when that started to happen for me. But it was never anything I truly paid attention to. I was just living in the moment and happy to be a part of a team, playing sports. Then when I went to Chaney, and I'll never forget, we scrimmaged Boardman. Boardman was big. They had some good athletes, and I had ripped one off for 80 in the scrimmage. And the next day, Coach Berdis asked me if I'd like to come practice with the varsity. And Coach Mick was doing a DB drill. And the guy, he was like a junior or senior named John Orfino. He was doing the DB drill where you had to tackle. And he was carrying the ball. And he was a junior or senior, a starter at the time. And quite frankly, I just smacked him. I smacked him. And when I was getting up, I saw the look on Coach Mick's face. And I knew I wasn't going back down there with the freshman team at that time. But, I played DB mostly as a freshman. And I was just happy to be out there. It was just playing football. But, you'd have some teams to try you. Obviously, a scouting report, they know this is a freshman over here. Hell, and he only 5'7". So, they try me. And, I think I held my own. And as the season progressed, we had a good running back named Tyrone Reynolds. But Coach Berdis had a lot of faith in me. We seen some of the things I was doing in practice, even as a freshman running on the scout team against our varsity defense. Made some things happen, and you start seeing that you just might be built a little bit different. But as the season progressed and then coming into my sophomore year, now, I'm the guy that's toting the rock. I kept moving back from safety to corner. And I actually like playing safety because I was involved in the whole field. But you just start doing things here and there that you feel like you separate yourself a little bit. But at no point, Dallas, did I ever feel like I had arrived, like I was the man. We had some tough seasons. We didn't win very many games. And truth be told, when you look at my stats were very average. It was nothing great. But if you watch the tape, and you might see how many tackles I had to break or how many people it took to tackle me to gain 3 yards. If you watch from you being a coach or a player and you look at it from that angle, I think you start to realize that during that time, I was a pretty special athlete. And kind of uncomfortable even saying that about myself, but I'm just being honest. It might have been a 3, 5, 6 yard run, but I started to realize that. And then when I was a junior and a senior, now you got the young guys coming in after you. We trained hard. Ron will attest. We worked hard. And it was the young guys after me that learned that work ethic, and they trained hard and played hard. And we was tough, man. It was a group of us that came from the South Side. We came over here. My mom only wanted me to go there because she wanted me to have a better education and get away from some of my knucklehead friends. And it's because of her. Some of the decisions that she made, and it's funny, we talk about these things to this day, that helped me succeed in athletics, in life, as a parent, so on and so forth.
Just adding some insight and color to some of those sentiments that you expressed there. I had a firsthand seat watching you in the weight room. You were a warrior. I remember you would, especially your senior year after the season had ended, and you're looking for that opportunity, going through that recruiting process. I know Kansas State showed a lot of interest with Coach Stoops being out there at the time, and just the way you went about your work. It's one thing to be on a team surrounded with lots of talent from top to bottom, but during your time, there were key guys that had exceptional talent, and everybody else was out there playing with their friends, for their friends. But when you see special people do special things, or see people do things different than what the expectation is based on your environment, based on what you're used to or your upbringing, just watching you grind and be steadfast in the classroom, be a guy that was approachable in school, and then, bring out that fire, that passion, and that energy. And at times, you were the guy that would give guys a kick in the ass when they weren't doing right, because of the frustration of wanting to win so bad. I remember times in practice, especially being on a scout team, a lot of those times I was in your running back group because I couldn't catch on to the terminology to continue playing quarterback at the time. And I learned a lot just, being behind you, being behind Sylvester, and what it takes to compete. Because, as Youngstown kids, especially being Southside guys, you're going against your buddies and people that you've competed with your whole life. So, everybody regarded Chaney as the underdog weakling. It's a guaranteed W to mark down on the schedule. But that senior year, you kind of propel us to a different level and a different mindset. The thing that stands out for me is after that Wadsworth scrimmage, when you get asked to relinquish your spot at tailback and make way for a young up-and-coming Sylvester Patton, a lot of guys would take the selfish approach and say, what about me? It's my time. What is it about your personality and your mindset and just that time period in your life that allowed you to graciously do something for the benefit of others?
It was Coach Berdis. He sat me down. And I realized, I think I was a little more mature back then than I may have given myself credit for. To get another good athlete, great player on the field could only benefit us and help us to win. And I wanted to win. And whether I was at fullback, at tailback, at receiver, quarterback, what have you, somehow, some way, I knew they would get the ball in my hands. But I just like to compete. I love the game. So lining up at fullback and trying to smack somebody in the face so Sylvester could go for 80, I didn't mind doing that. It was about winning. It was about competing. And, I just laid it all on the field, man, as most of us did. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I heard rumblings later on Sylvester. He teased me how he took my position. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that, Sylvester. But we definitely were better having him on the field than not having him on the field. And it worked out. But you bring up a great point too, Ron. A lot of teams would check that off as a W when they played us. But by the time my senior year came around, it was no easy wins. We had some close losses. And I know a lot of teams left out of that field sore, tired. They knew they were in a dogfight. I remember my senior year, Coach Butchie grabbed me and told me that was the most physical game he had ever witnessed as a coach. And I remember we played Boardman. And, man, what was his name? Coach Boardman, I believe. I'm just jogging off the field leaving. He comes, sprints over to me and stopped me and said, hey, if you have any problem getting into any school you want to get into because of your height, you have him call me. You have him fucking call me, Mack Gilchrist. And I'm just like, I'm just taken back. Like this coach comes over saying this to me. But in the moment, it's nothing. But as you get older and you reflect and things just come in your mind here and there, you appreciate those small moments. High school football is the greatest time of your life, man. Coach Berdis told me that. He said, and it always stuck with me, he said, nothing is purer about the game than high school football. And that's true. That's true. It's simply for the love of the game, man. I love the game. So playing fullback, playing tailback, playing receiver or DB, it didn't matter. And I was going to do it to the best of my ability and let the chips fall where they may.
Can you talk about having a defensive backfield mate and another asset on offense in Aubrey Dawson, and what you guys' friendship and brotherhood meant to you, as you guys are both chasing those goals to be on top?
Aubrey was a great athlete. He was probably him and Marco Morgan, probably the purest athletes that I played with. I had limitations. But having him as a friend, a close friend, we had somebody at that time, and we did when I was a sophomore as well. We had a guy, Ty Lockett. He was an explosive wide receiver, great hands. Aubrey's hands wasn't as good as Ty's, but he was a great athlete. And having him out there, somebody to lean on, to help motivate guys. And I'll never forget when we played Rand, I've never seen Aubrey be as motivated and outspoken as he was. He just wanted to win that bad because he had lived on the north side for some time. So I played with some guys. Like you said, I think you put it best, Ron. We had some good players speckled throughout different positions. Dave Del Baccio was an absolute animal. Chris Samarone, phenomenal player. His brother Chuck trained us. I think I attribute a lot of my strength and conditioning to him. He was just an animal. It's a lot of people that I owe gratitude to. But having Aubrey, getting back to your question, as another athlete, another DB, it helped solidify our team. We had enough pieces in different places plugged in with a lot of sophomore young guys that was just hungry and on the field early, probably earlier than what they should be, but it helped them transition into winners later on as juniors and seniors, as you guys had a lot of success during your time there.
You hit on a couple things, talking about, playing as a freshman, and I was able to witness. I didn't go through the way you guys went through, like the conditioning that was the double sessions, going through that as a young guy. And especially I'm assuming with the Ron Berdis, who's full of piss and vinegar first couple years, like it's always dialed up when you're trying to change a program, right? So that could not have been an easy transition, but I think there's a level of put yourself in a situation where, you're a young coach, you need. Chaney always hung their hat on being tough, better conditioned, stronger, and going to out-tough you. And to change your program, you have to have a guy or two or three that also can get it done, right? Like the go-to guys, the athletes, the studs. And that was you. And just hearing you talk about, you've established yourself for 2 years. You're going in that junior, senior year. You're the feature back, which at that time was back in the 80s, 90s, to be the feature guy, like the tailback was the premier position, right? And then to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take a step back and I just want to play and I want the team to succeed. That's a huge level of, any coach can say that, but when your guy buys into it, that removes any complaining from anybody else in the program, And Ron has said that, at different times when we were talking about it, like being able to do that and get other athletes on the field. And you talked about Boardman and Mooney. There were times, that 87, 88 season where you lose by a field goal twice to Steubenville, you lose by a couple points to Boardman. And he's like, what do we got to do to get over the hump? And then you transition to that senior year and you win the first city title. like, how does the culmination of all the hardship, the training, the doubt, right? I'm sure there had to be doubt during that time, to finally accomplish that. What's that feeling as you see it from the beginning to that final game against Rain to win the city title? How does that culminate in your mind?
Man, Dallas, how many years later, brother? And for you to talk about that, it really just sent chills through my spine again, which is crazy. It really sent chills through my spine because as Ron and I have talked over the last few days, it starts stirring up different things that's happened in the past and emotions. And I took a 4-year ride with Coach Berdis that was phenomenal. And the one thing that rings in my ear over and over and over, he used to pull me to the side from time to time and just say, just stick with me. Stick with me. Stick with me. We're going to change this thing. Stick with me. We're going to change this thing. And to watch that pendulum start swinging towards the winning side was phenomenal. I remember going down to Studentville, which was my favorite place to play. You walk in there, they had this fire-breathing horse. They fans crazy. They spitting on you. I remember walking in there at Dallas, man. It was this old black dude. And he's screaming, hey, Gilchrist. He didn't have no teeth. Gilchrist, not today. Not today. Hey, and right now it still gives me, man, it makes my hair stand up. It's funny because you look at these teams, man. We play the Boardman. We play Studentville. We play some of these teams, brother. I was bigger than 3 of our O-linemen. And probably stronger than all of them for the most part. After Del Baccio and Samaro and them, of course. So when you line up across from these guys, I mean, we look like we belong. We don't look like we belong on the same field as them. But being from Youngstown, having a coach that was just old-fashioned, old school, we ain't going to do nothing funny. We're going to line up, and we're going to let the best man win in the weight room. We figured out a way just to hold our own, some close games, leaving Studentville with some heartbreaking games. Then we played a team, I think it was in West Virginia, that was like ranked number 2 in the state. And we lost by a field goal to them. I forget the team, forgive me. But we played them tooth and nail, and you can see things start to change. You can see things start to change, especially when Ron's class joined us. We young, we laughing and joking off the field, but when you got on the field, you could start seeing there was a little bit more talent coming behind me. There was a little more talent coming behind me. These guys got to play early, and it was just as rewarding for me to win city and to watch what they did after. To just watch where the program started and where we took it to, and being able to play as a freshman and sophomore and junior and senior and just watch how we evolved. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
You had touched on it a little bit earlier in terms of your metrics and the size, the style of football that was popular at the time. What was that process like for you? Culminating your high school career, putting in 4 hard years of development, training, and hoping for that call that you have made it to the next level and able to display your talent in other places. What did you go through along that trail before landing with Coach Tressel and Youngstown State?
That run was an emotional roller coaster. And I'll tell you why. You don't realize until you're older that some things just work out like they're supposed to. But you can attest to this. When I was in high school, there was colleges coming every day. I was getting pulled out of class. Schools, Coach Berdis wouldn't even let them talk to me because there's no chance they thought I was going there. I remember Coach Berdis got mad at me because Cooper came down from Old State and I asked him for his autograph with their defensive back, Fred Puggage. I was being recruited as a DB more. And, you this young kid, you think you're going anywhere you want to go. You have piles of letters in the house. I took a visit to Ohio State, went to Pitt. I went to Pitt's camp, and I won most valuable running back as a senior out of everybody there. I didn't take my ACT and didn't even know, brother. They pulled me out of class and told me I got to go take my ACT because I didn't even take the ACT till after the signing date. So a lot of big schools that were on me fell off because I wasn't qualified. I didn't take my ACT yet. I had a bunch of Mack schools I could have still went to. A couple guys from Ursuline tried to get me to come to Miami, Ohio. Kevin Harris, he was hosting me at Kent State. Keith Queener over at Akron. I met Coach Tressel. My parents loved Coach Tressel. His demeanor, very personable when he came in. Then I visited there. But the truth be told, Ron, I played exactly where I should have played at the level I should have played at. And I was able to help my son through his recruitment and things because of this. Because when you're an athlete, no matter what city you're in, the only thing you really focus on is the team you play for, the teams you play in, and the people in the city around you. But you really can't comprehend that it's a million student athletes doing the same thing you're doing across the United States. And they're being recruited as well. Once I got to YSU, anybody could put a highlight tape on. They put a highlight tape on, you think everybody's supposed to be at Ohio State. I played with some phenomenal athletes. And the one thing, and I'm in a group thread with 20 of my guys from college right now. We still get together, stay in touch. The one thing that I realized, fellas, that Coach Tressel got right, similar to what I said regarding when I was at Chaney and we lined up with some of these bigger schools, when I was at YSU, we play all the Mack schools. We run through them. But when you look at them on paper versus us, they had the prototypical size guys. Their tackles was 6'6", 6'7". Our tackle might have been 6'3". Chris Emeron, our center, 6'1", 6'2". They're 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". DNs, the same. Linebackers, 6'3", 250. Best guy I played with, Leon Jones, who could have went to the league, decided not to go. He's 5'11", 225. Player of the year, All-American. I say this to say, Coach Tressel recruited guys when I was there that could play football. I was a 5'7", 195-pound fullback. I was recruited as a DB everywhere. A couple D2 schools and a couple small schools wanted me as a running back, but mostly a DB. But I wasn't that fast. I was a 4'6" guy. And then I went to college. training table, eating, lifting, working out, I filled out more. I got up to about 190. Moved back to the offensive side of the ball. I went there as a DB. Moved back to the offensive side of the ball. Then we had Tamron Smith, my brother. Tamron told it to rock, set records. Then Sean Patton came in. I moved to fullback again. Because in the end, for me, I can't sit on the sideline. I got to get on the field. I have to get on the field, man. And shoot, I was one of the strongest guys at YSU. I remember Coach Tressel asked me if he can get this done play after play. But it just came a point where he had no choice but to play me because I was able to separate myself in the running back room that you got to get a guy shot at 5'7", 190 pounds, playing fullback. So when we warm up against these other teams, they be talking stuff and pointing and laughing. But when we got between those lines, I had my way. So, we had a bunch of guys. Randy Smith, All-American, led the league in kickoff return yards, had like 8-10 interceptions. He was 5'7" too. Sean Patton, we had became very close, and it's ironic because his dad and my dad played at Campbell together. They both was big-time players. They both went off to school to play. And then it's funny how God works. Now me and Sean, who was a phenomenal player, rest his soul, now we the tandem at tailback and fullback at YSU. And for me not to go big time, which I know now that I played at the level, and I was blessed enough to play in my hometown you went from one program and then watching y'all change that to us winning 3 national championships and 1 runner-up at YSU. But none of our guys really passed the eye test. We had DNs. Jermaine Hopkins, one of my best friends, rest his soul. He was a 5'10", 5'11", defensive end, 16 sacks, All-American. David Birch was a 6'1" DN. I could go on and on about guys that never passed the eye test. But if you put the film on and watch him play football, that's a guy you want playing for him. And that's what Coach Tressel got right. He got that right. And he recruited locally. Cleveland, Youngstown, Akron, Canton, PA was the bread and butter of most of the people we had. And it was just a pleasure to be part of.
Yeah, you hit a good point. Football players come in all shapes and sizes, right? And if you can go, you can go. And then, you talk about Coach Tressel's talent evaluation, and then you're multiplying that nationwide. And that's why there was a success there, just like it at YSU. Maybe talk a little bit about, playing at YSU. And that's got to be a very special thing, playing at YSU, having the success that you guys had. I mean, just legendary, right? And being in your hometown and around your family and your friends. What was that experience like? Because that was an amazing time for this community.
It was.
Right? Everybody was just, so passionate about YSU football. To be from here, doing it here. What was that experience like?
So I'll give you 2 stories, or I'll talk about it in 2 different segments. The first is during that time. During that time, Dallas, when you're young and you're having fun and you're winning, it's amazing. It's amazing. Truly put Youngstown on the map in a light of being winners. It's funny, while during this time, Youngstown was like number 1 or 2 per capita murders at the time. It was some rough things going on. But we as athletes would go anywhere in settings we shouldn't be. And they loved and respected and revered us. Hey, those guys off limits. Don't mess with them. You know, I'll come around. Hey, that's Mack Gilchrist. Don't let him go. Let him do his thing or whatever. To be part of putting us in a whole different light in the winner's circle. Shout out to Carmen, his restaurant he had downtown. To be in that light, to be part of that, it was amazing. Now, it was also tough for me because you come in, you go from playing, I've never felt what it felt like not to be on the field. Junior high, little league, high school, I'd always been the man, always been on the field. To go to YSU and get redshirted. And then as a redshirt freshman to play spot special teams. Brother, I'm so for lack of a better word, I'll say proud of myself to find what I had to find within me, to train, to work, to give Coach Tressel no other choice but to let me get on this field. It was rewarding. That is when I knew I was really built different than most when it came to this football thing. I knew my mentality was different. I knew my go hard was different because I just had to find it within me. It came easy for some guys, you know, because whether it was talents or position, whatever. So to be able to be part of something special that Coach Tressel and others built in my hometown, that people outside had a different light on us because they don't know us from Youngstown. To be a part of that and watch us win and transition was phenomenal. Very proud of that. Very proud to be a part of that. In fact, unless I was going to O State or Penn State, or which I thought I was going to Penn State and playing there and going to the league, I am so thankful and happy where I played and who I played for. My high school coach and my college coach. I played for two phenomenal, gifted men and leaders of men. They are leaders of men. And I was blessed to be able to have these people in my life. The second part of that is older now. I'm young 50s. I look back and I see the indoor stadium and the facilities, all the things that they have now. I know a lot of that was built off the blood, sweat, and tears that we put in back then. You know, you don't think about the money that was brought into the city. All you think about is playing football. But the revenue, like I said, the reputation, people know you from anywhere, even now. You tell them you played in the 90s. You played for Coach Tressel? Or were you on one of those winning teams? Yeah, we won 3 national championships, runner-up of 1. And, you know, playing against McNair and beating him, Steve McNair. It was just some great memories, some great things that I was blessed to be a part of. You know, any one thing could have went a different way and everything could have changed. But with God's hand, man, he led me to be a part of some special things. And when I say special, I'm talking about training. I'm talking about some of the guys I played with at Chaney, the coach I played for at Chaney, the guys that I played with at YSU, the friendships that I have now, how that helped mold me, because I'm an old school, old fashioned type guy. That you gonna get it out the mud. I train my son. You gonna work hard when nobody looking. I had to reinvent myself. I get up at 4 a.m. I work out 7 days a week, and it's discipline over motivation, man. It's discipline over motivation, and that was developed back then for me. I'm so thankful.
One of the things that I want to kind of just get your opinion on, given that we are aging and getting on in life and can see things from a different perspective and vantage point. You mentioned the time frame of the 90s and, being from Youngstown and just knowing, some of the activity that pervaded our community. When you reflect back and you see some of those teammates that have fallen, you brought up Birch, Sean Patton is gone. What is the heartbreak side of being an athlete and sharing those special moments with guys? But with age comes that swift transition. What do your feelings go towards when you think about some of the guys that have been lost over the years that you don't get to see at the alumni reunions, and friends throughout the community that should have gone and had some of the experiences that you may have gotten to, but may have fell victim to the streets for lack of resources? What would you have to say about that in your position that you are in life now?
We talk it's funny, before we had this podcast, we were texting in one of in that group thread of 20 of us that played in college together. And we always bring things in, and we was talking about intermittent fasting today. And I gave my guy an app that I use because I like to fast 18 hours a day. And the older you get, the more in tune you become with your body and the things that, the necessities to still be here, to be healthy and not have high blood pressure and diabetes. And some of the guys that I lost over the years, the tragic thing that happened with Jermaine Hopkins, Sean Patton, Birch, heart attack in his sleep. Blessed to still be here. And 2 weeks ago, I was saying in my group thread how live life, man. Live life to the fullest. Most of us, we work for somebody so that we can provide for our families and ourselves. And we get caught up in our daily routine, the struggles of life, family, health. I just don't want to be the guy at my age or older, God willing, that wish I would have done this or wish I would have done that. Again, I've been so lucky. I've been right next to some violent crimes. Jermaine Hopkins, when that happened, I was standing right next to him. And this is God's hand on me. We standing on the porch, house party. I see a car pull up. It's like slow motion right now. 4 guys get out the car. I watch a guy, he had on a skull cap. He pulls it down a little bit, had on a gray hoodie, puts his hands in his pocket. They start walking up. God spoke to me. I tapped Jermaine, hey, let's go. I turn around to start. I go up the steps, get ready to start. Hey. As soon as I turn around and start going up the steps, 2 shots fired. I hit the ground. I'm crawling into the house. Another shot fired. People scrambling, running, screaming, everything. You hear the car screech off. I come back outside. One of my best friends, We grab him. He bleeding from the head, shot in the head. One of the most personable, good people, no enemies you'd ever meet in your life, from Florida. Just a great person, great human being. Anybody you talk to would tell you that same thing. Ron, that could have been me. There's other stories like that, man, where God has laid his hand on me. And I'm not a big religious person. I'm not. I have a relationship with God. I don't go to church. I don't openly talk about those things. I just try to live right, man, with integrity, because I know the blessings that I've had. And we were in Youngstown, all of us, through some rough times, man. We all blessed to be here. Could have been any of us. But, I still am grateful where I'm from, what I did, and where I did it at.
Yeah, you talk about that incident. That was 3 blocks from my house. I remember when that happened that evening. And it's you just have such a good perspective on personal ownership and the humility you have, paired with the success that you have had and continue to have in your personal life. It's really just a testament. You started off with your mom. Obviously, she laid some great characteristics in you, and you've had the opportunity to be around just great people as you've grown and developed. And it shows. It really shows coming through. And so, how do you transition from being a highly competitive athlete and going through the things that you've gone through? And you mentioned about highlight films, right? I think in today's society, everybody thinks it's always up and to the right. It's an easy path. I want it, I'll get it. But we all know on this side of our age, right? It's ups, downs, forward, back. How do you take those lessons learned that are so valuable? And now you're working for a living, right? And you're a sales manager, and you're coaching people to do a good job in the workplace. How do you take that competitive spirit and apply it to what you're doing now?
It goes hand in hand, Dallas. I have been blessed. So I was teaching at Bookville Health, and I told my parents, man, I'm going into car sales. I said, what? You crazy? They thought I was crazy. 25 years ago. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been where I'm at for almost 15 years. And I'm blessed to be here. It's a Christian organization. Anybody, you read about us, anything, Vanderveer, Auto Group, we do things with the utmost integrity. Not your typical sleazy, and they all not like that, but it's a bad rap for a lot of places, I must say. Some deserved, some not so deserved. But for me, I'm just like a football or college coach. I connect with these guys so well, and I push them out of their comfort zones. Whether they need to, I get calls all day, all night, whether it's about finances, girlfriends, wives, life, struggles. I'm there for them. They know I care. And I'm like a Coach Berdis. Coach Berdis and Coach Tressel night and day as far as coaches. Coach Tressel's laid back, more mild-mannered, not really a rah-rah guy. Just a matter of fact, let's get this done like this. And my guys, I get on them. I don't disrespect them because they grown men. But they know if I'm on them, it's because I think they can do better. I want them to do better. When I interview Dallas, it's funny, brother. When I interview people for sales, I ask them a question. I say, if you were an animal, a wild animal, what animal would best describe you? Characteristic, personality, the traits that make you up? And their answer to that question lets me know if they should even be in sales. Because sales is a tough business. When you're starting at zero and you got to go make it happen every month. But it's what I love about it. And I share this with them. I said, if you're driven and you have discipline, you willing to bet on yourself, sales can be powerful if you're willing to bet on yourself. And I had a lot of guys that's had a lot of success by betting on themselves. I had some guys that fail too, because it ain't for everybody. But I'm a coach. I'm a teacher. I'm a motivator. I'm a counselor. A lot all wrapped up in one. And my owner, Jerry Vanderveer, he knows that about me. And he shares. We went to lunch 2 weeks ago. He's not afraid to share that with me or anybody that comes in his path. So I'm blessed to be in the position I am and doing what I do and connected to not only customers, but salespeople. I absolutely love it. Don't even feel like work.
You know, the thing about doing these segments that gives me the most joy is to see people that I have a relationship with, and I can pull from a variety of memories that live in my head about what they mean to me through different points of my life. You know, just thinking about you as a leader and a player, you know, and where I was versus where I got to. You know, you were a person that I crossed paths with that helped me propel myself into a direction that I didn't think I could attain prior to us being teammates. You know, we've both been influenced by tremendous men that took time and care and countless hours away from their own families to help shape, mold, and develop us and see us get our next step on the ladder in life. And one of the things that, you know, brings me a lot of personal joy is to go back to those men, those people, and thank them for what they poured into me. You know, the premise of our show is one more down. And we always end on this philosophical, reflective question. If you had one more down to repeat in your life, you know, where would that be for Mack Gilchrist? Who would be along for that ride? Can you paint that picture for us?
That's a tough question. The lady in that room over there, my mom, obviously my kids, some teammates, coaches along the way. But it's not much I would change. I've been blessed and blessed to still be here. Blessed to still be here, 53 years old, alive and kicking, and doing something I love to do with people I love doing it with. So I would call it first down because we've been off and running. And it's been a great ride. Thanks to a lot of people that have had an influence on help molding me into the person I am. And I'm blessed.
You know, man, just listening to the maturity, the change and the transition of you beautifully displaying what it's like to be in that cocoon of a young burgeoning athlete that has ability, prowess, recognition, accolades, great moments, highlights, and then to hear you be able to connect the dots and paint the picture of what a complete man is, and you know, the peaks and the valleys of a lifelong journey when you're wide-eyed, young and hopeful versus older, mature and experienced. You know, I think a lot of what you said tonight and the takes that you gave are a reflection of a great education that you receive, exposure to countless great coaches with great minds, tremendous friends and teammates, people that have allowed you to be more than what you may have thought that you could have accomplished as an individual alone. I don't know how to thank you in terms of, in a sense, for lack of a better word, rescuing a young guy who had no direction and just being an example, a beacon and a light to have something to shoot for and aspire to. So, thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for sharing your story and your perspective on what it is to be a athlete and a man. And I look forward to watching you grow, continue to develop, and hope that at some point, we can do this again, maybe in a different way with other connected, shared loved ones that we have between us. So thank you a lot for appearing tonight, Matt.
Man, the pleasure is mine. And I'd like to thank you in Dallas. You and I connecting and talking about this and before this show coming has brought a lot of great memories back, emotions, and man, it's just one more time. This may be the last time that I can truly give thanks to this game, football. The doors, the people, the paths. It's more than a sport that has opened up in my life, your life, and many others, man. It's just truly a blessing what it's done. And I'm so appreciative of you guys having me on here. And let me tell a little bit of my story. Just one more time to pay homage to some of the men that helped mold me, to pay homage to my mother once more. Between her and God, they deserve all the thanks. And thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate you doing it. And, for me, I like I said when we first started, not ever really sitting down and talking to you and just kind of hearing stories about people that you knew very well and speaking highly of you. It's not one thing that I hear from it, and I think this is really what the game of football and athletics is all about. It's not always about the outcome, it's about the process, right? And, a lot of times when great athletes in general, they don't leave the game as well-rounded as we would hope to be better prepared to compete with the game of life, the way they compete in the field of play. And you mentioned it early on, like Ron and his group of players, and quite frankly, up until 2005, when I left and Chaney closed, all those players reaped the benefit of not only the work you put in, but all those guys that suffered along to build that foundation so that everybody else could benefit after it. And that's decades of players, hundreds of young men that went through and reaped that benefit. And you really hit the same thing when you talked about YSU, being part of that success and laying the foundation and the benefits, the facilities and the things that those players are reaping. And even now, the people that under your care as employees, the people you hire and that you train, just really a humbleness, a giving back, and that's really impressive to see. So I appreciate just sitting down and hearing your story. So I'm more appreciative, but I know you said thank you to us, but this has been a great thing.
Thank you, my friend. The game has given so much to me. I need to give something back when I can.
Yeah.